welcome to Morally Corrupt, a podcast on the Ringer reality feed. I am Callie Crerie, and I have the pleasure of talking all things Bravo with Jodi Walker this morning. Hello, Jodi.
Hello, Callie. It's summer. We're all doing vacations. Me, you, Chelsea, Rachel, just swapping around.
Yes. Where are you right now?
I'm in Washington, D.C. right now.
I was asking because if you are in the Northeast, it has been brutally hot this week.
Oh, I'm in the heat dome. I don't know how much time you've spent in Washington, D.C., but it is muggy as hell here. I talked about this over on my other pod. We're obsessed. Have you heard about the wet bulb?
The wet bulb? What is that?
I won't go all into it. This is a very casual plug for We're Obsessed, but it is like the way that you measure heat and humidity together. So I've just been seeing people talk about like, ooh, no one knows what to expect out of the wet bulb, and the wet bulb temperature is high. Be careful out there.
I have been checking the weather pretty much every day because I'm in Florida and generally it is hottest here, but it is not. We are way colder than the Northeast right now. And colder meaning like we're 89 or 90 and you guys are like a 98 at one point. And the humidity was higher there. And I was just like, what is going on? How is it hotter and more humid anywhere like north of North Carolina, basically?
It's not right. It's not right.
But I think it's getting better.
North Carolina at like 80 degrees and arrived here in Washington, D.C. to sweat my ass off.
I think it's supposed to go back down, but it's just, interesting summer days in the Northeast right now.
Puts us in the vibes for Miami, at least.
Puts us in the vibes for Miami and the Valley. Both places are particularly hot during the summer. We will start with the Valley this morning. Can I just say, when I watch this show, I love it. Mm-hmm. And I leave it thinking there is just a lot of toxicity happening here.
I'm going to try to stay calm. We're recording early in the morning. It's hot outside, as mentioned. I get so enraged, the irony, but just even thinking about Jax.
Yeah.
And like that he is back, let alone hosting like
a men's group,
men's groups funded by Joe Rogan. I
not even Joe Rogan. I think it's worse.
Yeah, it's like off-brand.
Yeah.
If you want to be Joe Rogan, you're doing even worse.
If you subscribe to his podcast and live or die by his every word and are hoping to be him one day,
then you're escalating your behavior.
And you might also like listen to Andrew Tate in your free time.
I don't, and I say I love bald men. In fact, I have long been attracted to bald men. Like it's not the baldness, but why are they all bald? Why as soon as I saw that Scott guy walk in with that fully shaved head, I was like, get out of here. And we'll get
freshly
more
shaved.
Into the men's group of it all. Freshly shaved. He's doing it every day. I bet he uses a particular brand of razor recommended
I'm sure he has
him
a routine.
by someone awful. Last week, I wasn't with you guys to talk about it. He was at that party. He was like at the party for Benji. He got a little caption.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
Jax's life coach or like Scott, the life coach.
Oh, I think I do remember that.
And they were like around the island, and Scott was like, how you doing, man? Jax was like, I've been at this place for 30 days. I was like, why does your life coach not know this?
I remember that. But also, I think I remember, well, first of all, I feel like I just like kind of blacked it out because I was also like, why is Jax here?
Right.
But that's interesting that him and his life coach got an invite to an event that he wasn't invited to, basically.
And that the host of, not the house host, but the content
the person
host,
who was throwing the party for his boyfriend,
who surely does not like Jax either, is furious at him and best friends with his ex. I mean, at least it gave Zach a moment to completely.
It was a great moment.
A great moment for Zach.
I don't know if you saw last night, Zach had another great moment and it made me giggle.
Which one?
Well, no, it wasn't on the show.
Oh.
Literally last night. Last night, somebody, like, it was like, I don't even know. It was like a Jax fan club tweeted.
Was it hosted by Jax? Have you seen this Twitter?
No. So yes.
Okay.
But no, it was not hosted by Jax. And Benji commented because the person was like, can you believe that Jax was ready to take accountability and instead it was shoved in his face and this poor soul and all that he's been through and da 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 da. It was literally like, I have never seen anything like it for all that we've seen with Jax. It was someone who was completely like a Jack apologist and like poor Jax. And Zach commented on it and was like, holy fuck balls. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is a deranged person. And unfortunately, I don't even think it's Jax because too many words were spelled correctly.
That's a great point. That's such a great point because like we saw his like burner account exposed, his Frank burner account where he's out there supporting himself. There's like this Twitter that's been started to defend Jax that uses a lot of AI images of a sort of like AI Jax being attacked, mostly by women. And those are all clearly Jax. But if there's like a clearly outlined argument and all the words are spelled correctly, it's probably an actual Jax apologist.
Yeah, I think it is actually, but I just am not sure how one can exist. But they're out there, I guess.
Some people are really broken.
Yeah. Well, this episode, we started off back at the restaurant we ended last episode on, which, by the way, is like the most awkward dinner ever.
Which the girls'
lunch?
Dinner?
Lunch? Was it lunch or dinner? Yeah.
Was that the same place where like Jason and Janet and
it looked like it. It looked
did,
like it.
with the red semicircle booth, except booths. This time they had I want to say 15 people shoved in there.
They had to push some tables together.
With smoking fajitas coming to the table? I don't think so.
And people just like two groups of people having conversations. It seemed like Brittany and Jasmine were in the middle, kind of just like not talking at all. Like they were just like going back and forth, and the two groups were talking to each other, and then the two groups started yelling at each other. I will say, on this podcast, we don't have a lot of Janet fans. I'm not sure where you stand, but it does feel like she just wants to be on this show, and like for her own friends to be like, she's doing a lot right now. I just feel like she wants like moments for the show to stay on the show.
I do think that's true because she really wants to be on the show. I think like where the real Janet comes out, not for the show, is that my personal feeling is that she came in expecting to be a certain archetype. Like she came in expecting to be related
like the sane
one, the normal person. And it was very evident even after season 1 that she's been cast in this villain role. And I don't think she's comfortable there. So like, I don't really think she's escalating to try to be the villain. I think she is so deeply hypocritical and incapable of seeing like the way that she comes across that she can't even hear herself.
Get herself out of it.
For her to go on and explain that moment where she got so fired up, yelled at Kristen, basically made fun of Nia for crying in an emotional moment, was hooting and hollering, for her to go on and explain that to Nia by saying, I'd had too much to drink, when she is making this huge deal of drinking, which I think we all acknowledge is like not a healthy relationship with alcohol.
No.
He has stuff to work on there. But he's had one significant slip up or one significant issue that affected someone outside of Nia. For the most part, this is Nia and Danny's issue to deal with. And it probably is hard on Nia. And I doubt it makes it any easier on Nia for Janet to constantly be bringing it up in public.
Yeah, I also think that it is an issue, but I don't think it doesn't seem to be some like make or break in their marriage issue. I think it's more of an annoying thing for Nia. Like, I don't think Nia's like, hey, I think you're an alcoholic. I think Nia's like, hey, when you drink too much, and it's like embarrassing. Like, I
You've
think
got to get
that's
a
where,
handle on
yeah,
this.
I think
And
that's
I
more.
still feel like you can probably.
Yeah, I still feel like he, personally, obviously we're only seeing what's on TV. It seems like he could. It seems like he just doesn't want to right now. I think he's having fun. He has 3 kids, almost 4. And like, he's like, I mean, if we're out without the kids, like, I want to turn up. That is what I see.
I see that. I observe that. I likewise feel like he's got to get a handle on that because he's so annoying when he's drunk, and that is annoying to Nia, who is like very in control of herself. As her friend, you would say, because I do understand, and this comes up in the men's group, which we will need to talk about in depth, that like the issue is sort of hiding the drinking, and maybe even like being generous to Janet. That's what she got geared up about, is she really felt like he was hiding it, and that seems like a problem. And instead of pulling Nia aside and saying, I'm a little concerned that Danny is hiding how much he's drinking, which I've seen as a sign of an escalation in a pattern, she just airs it out to everybody and is so mean.
Well, yeah, also she's doing it in a way where she's like diagnosing him.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nia's also just like, you have your own problems. Yeah, like, do not worry about me and mine. Which, if it was like, again, what we're stressing is that I think that there is an issue there. I don't like think I classify him as like an alcoholic or anything like that, but there is an issue. But the issue isn't with the group, because he's only been problematic that one time. Now, has he been annoying and like yelled and done the like more than he should have? Yes, but I would say 90% of this group does when they drink. So,
and
like,
what that would make me concerned about as a friend, if I saw someone being annoying, like, and their wife always trying to take them home, it would make me concerned that there are like issues at home maybe that aren't being dealt with, or that like they're ignoring it or they're putting it aside and it's going to get worse. In which case, again, I would talk to Nia about it.
Yeah, I would be worried for Nia,
right.
Like not for anything else, or worried for their marriage. But again, that is none of Jasmine's business.
Janet's business. It's a little bit Jasmine's business, but the whole thing is that Jasmine said it's okay.
Care. Yeah, Jasmine doesn't care. The main person who was offended, the main person, he's crossed the line the most with Jasmine. And Jasmine, which I did appreciate, like, Danny apologized once, then took them to lunch again and apologized on camera. It's all he can do. And I thought his apology was good.
Like in his testimonial, he was also like, I can't believe I did that. I'm so embarrassed. Like he really
seems genuine. Yeah.
He seems genuinely embarrassed. I think as Jasmine, I would then want the accountability that, you can see someone be embarrassed in one moment and then sort of convince themselves, actually, I'm fine. And I think you sort of see that in the men's group. Like, he does not respond well to being attacked for people saying he drinks too much, but he does sort of agree at some point during this completely unlicensed therapy session that he does hide his drinks. When Scott is like, hiding your drinking is when you go to a bar, you quickly drink 2 drinks and then you take one back to the crowd. And for a second, Danny's like, yeah, okay, that's something I do.
Yeah.
So that sounds familiar.
And I'm not being like an apologist for Danny, but also in this group of guys, like, I wouldn't want to hear any of their opinions on me.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I would be the same way as Danny. I'd be like, Jax, sorry.
That's true.
No, like, I can't hear it from you. The only person that I could kind of hear it from is Jason. And unfortunately, I can't hear it from Jason right now because Jason's tied to Janet. So,
and Jason's been so wish-washy.
Yeah. Well, I think because of Janet.
Yeah, exactly. So, he started off as Jason and then he became a mouthpiece for Janet. And yes, that would be very frustrating. You make a really great point that I keep putting myself in the position of like, well, if I was Janet, and in the position of like, well, if my friends were approaching me about drinking, that is simply not the position that we are in.
Yeah, like,
We're
I'm
in the
sorry.
valley.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't sit there and hear Jesse and Jax and Jason, who's tied to Janet, tell me I have a drinking problem. I would be like, okay, guys, let's worry about your own issues, and I will worry about mine. Have I hid my drinking? Yes, but I am not coming here and having, like, if we're going to platform someone's issues right now, I am here to talk about Jax's.
I mean, last week at that dinner, at another sort of like underground red boothed bunker at the men's dinner, when
Oh, yeah.
they're all of a sudden they're all getting all over Danny at this dinner where Jax is like, "You guys have got to keep me accountable. You have got to keep me accountable." And they're like, "You
Then
sure
gets mad
you
that
you
they
sure you think need to keep drinking, man?" He's like, "Yes, it's not about my drinking. It's about my." He so fundamentally cannot be held accountable that, like, to suggest that anyone could is insane.
Well, it's also interesting because he did this whole on Watch What Happens Live, and he was like, "So you've been sober since you came home from rehab. Did you see that?" And he was like, yeah." Which also I was like, that's not a firm yes. And you have a firm 201 days. So that's interesting. But then on last night's episode, when Brittany was supposed to bring Cruz somewhere, and she was like, no, I'm not coming. You were like blackout drunk last night. I was like, so does that count towards
I assume
sobriety?
he's saying he's been 200 days cocaine sober, which
Yeah. It's
I actually feel
something. I
fine
said this
saying
last
this
week.
about Jax. I don't buy either. Like,
Oh.
this guy's a monster. I have lost, it is very difficult to have like human empathy for him.
Well, not empathy. It's difficult for me to believe anything that he says.
Well, sure, also that. Definitely
if,
that.
if he is cocaine sober, I will say that I think for Jax, that is something. Like, you got to cross things off the list one by one. So I will accept that. I just don't know. Like, Andy asked him, like, how are we supposed to believe that? Like, what accountability do you guys have? And he said that his life coach, which maybe that's Scott, unsure, his life coach makes him take drug tests, and that Brittany's allowed to drug test him whenever she wants.
That is true, that when you have been addicted to anything, to be off of it for 200 days is a really big deal.
Yeah.
I think it becomes hard to trust or believe anything he says when 3 days out of rehab, I think, he's getting drunk at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to tell her, like, oh, I went home at 11. I wasn't drunk. When that man sat down and ordered a coffee and a Diet Coke, I bet hash browns were next. I've never heard a more hungover order.
Like, I didn't even realize his order.
Double it, you know? Like,
do you want a Bloody Mary too?
Yes.
Just to top it all off?
He looked so hungover.
I just feel like he always looks that way.
That's true. But when he was fresh off of rehab Botox and like they were all like, you look great, man, at that dinner.
Well,
I think he had one day.
Well, he said he left. I don't know. Maybe did he? I don't know if he did or Brittany was like, Brittany did. Brittany was like, he left rehab and his first appointments were like his hair, his Botox before he saw Cruz. So she was like, it really bothers me when he's like, oh, I want to see Cruz. I want to see Cruz. But then like he prioritized those things over seeing Cruz.
And he keeps saying like, she's keeping my son from me. And I do think that there are instances that he is calling upon where she has said that she will come somewhere and maybe bring Cruz, and then she doesn't. But I would assume that she has pretty good justification in those instances of not feeling safe or like she can trust him or whatever.
I would love to know. I don't know. Like, there's so many things. I pretend that I am Jax, and I don't understand what full custody means.
I'm leaving
what full legal custody means. I also don't understand, like, if I'm Brittany, like, he would need supervised visits for me.
For sure. Absolutely.
But I don't think that she does that.
I think I know that she did it at least once while he was in the rehab facility that let him rage text her the whole time and like go to his house to get,
whatever.
Fresh underwear. But I don't think she's doing it right now that he's out, like within the context of the show.
Again, I don't even know what's legal or not legal or like how you even go about that. But from what we've seen this season, and I know he constantly is like horrible husband, but great dad. I'm like, I don't know.
I
don't know how
the
you
last
can
time
be that
said,
person and also be a good dad. Like that, I really struggle. Like the way that you talk to Brittany. And like, I mean, we've watched absolutely 100% have watched abuse on this episode. I mean, on this season of The Valley. So I'm just, is it possible? It is possible for him to only take it all out on Brittany. But if I was Cruz's mom, I would need some sort of supervision.
Yeah. And like the last time he said that, great, terrible husband, great dad, I don't think that you can be like in the situation he has put himself in. If you are treating your child's mother like that you're
way.
doing it sometimes in front of him, like you're degrading women, like that's not great. Maybe fair. We could do fair. It's not great. And it's you can't take anything he says reasonably, because the way that he will talk out of both sides of his mouth and say, that he's taking accountability, that he learned so much, and then immediately be like, but Brittany and I have both done a lot wrong to each other. It's like, well, you've done a lot more.
Yeah, a lot more. And a lot more on camera, which we talked about last week, that a lot of Jesse's stuff has been off camera. A lot of Jax's stuff has been on camera.
Mm-hmm. Which would suggest that even
I can't
worse
imagine
stuff is happening off camera.
Especially with how Jax deliberately does and says things. I mean, he's been on TV for too long. He knows what he's doing, and he still can't come across well.
I want him off. I want him off the show. And I don't care if it ends The Valley. And that is as an enjoyer, as a previous enjoyer of The Valley, I think for Bravo to be giving him a paycheck and platforming him in any way at this point is completely wrong.
Well, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Really?
No, I really don't. I mean,
I think people are pissed.
Oh, I think a lot of people are pissed. I see it all the time. And even on his Watch What Happens Live, the questions Andy was asking, he said, I think at one point he was like, people don't want you here. Like, people think that we shouldn't have you on Watch What Happens Live and that you have not been good to Brittany. And it was probably a little bit more aggressive than how I'm saying it. But Jax was like, I would say, I agree with them. I have a lot of work to do. And I'm trying, and da-da-da-da. And they asked Schwartz, do you think that Jax is better? And Schwartz said no.
Good for Schwartz. The role that Schwartz has played in all of this is very funny to me. Why is he the narcissist sidekick of To the Stars on Bravo?
Always.
Get yourself a new gig. Yeah. I saw he's building a house in Florida or something. He needs to get out of there. I think so.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
How? So this how is Luke getting a 4-carat ring? How is Schwartz building a house in Florida? Know. I do not understand these things. But I will say before we go to Miami, I'm really happy for Luke and Kristen. I really like them together.
Yeah, I didn't like Luke, or I was kind of just meh on Luke last season.
Yeah.
And obviously, I feel like if you don't know someone at all, and then all of a sudden they're on TV with someone, and I just was like, is he using Kristen? What's the vibes here? He does seem super genuine and sweet with how much he loves her. And even when he was acting weird and Kristen was like, oh, I think it's his grandma, and he's upset about his grandma because usually he's so good at communicating. I thought that was just sweet, especially for Kristen.
Jodi, an empath. It's so hard to be an empath sometimes,
Yeah.
I think they're just a match made in weird heaven.
Whatever it is, it works for them.
Callie, when he brought the gecko to the jewelry shop as a cover for getting the ring. I was like, yeah, these two are made for each other.
Yeah. I mean, so cute.
The gecko.
He made one mistake. He may have told too many people, because when Jasmine started talking about the surprise, I was just like, what is going on? And then Zach knew. And then you should have just, he should have just told Nia and Danny.
Every misunderstanding of like where something comes from, or like, Janet being mad at Nia, it all goes back to Zach, which I'm fine with. That's a very important role. And I've really come to enjoy Zach in this season, but like, don't tell Zach anything.
Anything. If you can avoid it. Nothing ever. Ever. Yeah. So we had the trip. Had the trip to Hawaii. We have this quote unquote men's group. I mean, it was insane. We had the crazy lunch with Janet screaming, and then we have this field day that I thought was pointless. Didn't need the field day.
I don't need to talk about the field day.
Great.
That is something I don't like about the Valley, is how they're always doing these little outings.
Random things.
That seem like so
produced.
I'm happy to watch them at a really crowded party.
I'm happy to watch them at a restaurant with booths.
LA's very big, and they don't all live in the Valley. I don't need to see them get together in the middle of the week. I can take on the reality that that's not happening.
I agree. Because I like that little bit in the middle of the show. I was just like, what is this? I don't even care about this. We end on a cliffhanger with Jesse going to ask Aaron if Michelle cheated on him or not, which I just don't understand why that matters anymore.
Because he wants to be mad at Michelle, because if he gets to be mad at Michelle, then he's right.
That, it wasn't just him.
Yeah.
He was being that way because of things that Michelle did. I hope that Aaron does not validate that, but we will find out next week.
I want to be able to make heads or tails of Aaron. I can't figure out what's going on there. And so I'm hoping that just a little more screen time will kind of help me do it.
Decide. Yeah.
As Jesse iconically said, only men can understand what men are going through. So I really hope they're able to connect as men,
Jesse,
about what they're going through.
Oh, Jesse. I am excited to see what Aaron says and see if we like him or we don't like him.
Right? I have no idea.
Now we are going to take it to another hot place down south, Real Housewives of Miami. I have to say, overall, I like this season. I like this cast. I really want the new girl, Stephanie, to come on. I keep waiting for her each episode. We're on episode 3. Why haven't we seen her yet? At the end of the episode, it does seem like we're going to see her episode 4. But it was very hard for me to pay attention to this episode for a lot of reasons, including I'm not sure if I saw a bug or not in my room, which completely distracted me from the episode.
I would like to break the fourth wall to say that Callie got on this podcast and she was like, I'm tired and having a hard time focusing. And we were like, what's going on? And she was like, well, I saw a bug right before bed. And then I don't even know if it was real. And then I could not sleep.
If you see a bug, if I see a bug in my room, I am from the South. You're gonna see a bug.
There's gonna be some bugs.
Yeah. As long as I kill it, I am cool. Mm-hmm. But also the lights were on. So why couldn't I see it after I saw it for that second?
You saw it and then it disappeared and you weren't even able. And I want to be clear, Callie, I feel like you're beating yourself up about this. I think this is a reasonable reason not to have slept well.
I did not sleep at all. I kept thinking about it. And also, if it was a bug, which I have not seen a bug since I've been here. I mean, within the house. If it was a bug, it would have been a small roach or palmetto bug. If it was.
That's tough.
Just don't know if it was or not. And I was killing myself. What if I'm just making this up? And 2, because what if it was a feather that I saw out of the corner of my eye? And 2, even if it was a bug, they can't do anything.
That's true. But again, I just think this is fair. I think you're trying to reason your way out of something emotional. And as my men's group would tell me, that's not how emotions work.
I just know it was irrational, but I did not sleep at all. I kept waking up. Like anytime I would fall asleep, I'd be like, where is it? What's happening?
Well, I also
But
think you're being fair about the way you received the Miami episode, because for the
okay, great.
most part, it was a lot of nothing until it was so something.
Yeah, so I started the Miami episode literally immediately after I calmed down from Buggate, which took me about like 45 minutes to calm down. Stripped the bed, like looked under everything, every furniture piece I have in that room. Could not find this bug, which was not great. And then I was just like, fine, let me get in bed. Got in bed, pressed play, and obviously I kept thinking like, wait, is it over there? Is it over there?
The
But
most morally corrupt thing that could happen right now in terms of this podcast is that you see a bug right now. Like, this is like Rachel and Birds.
I would love, oh, I know. I would love to see it so I could kill it. But I was basically just like, not like, I would hear glimpses of things. And then until the last like 7 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, now we're here.
Here's what happened. Marysol and Steve got married.
Saw that.
For the 17th time. And it was very precious. Her on that little motorcycle with her little veil going was very cute. That. Love how much they love each other.
She looked very happy, crying, talking about him. Very sweet.
Very glam. Adriana and Julia talked, not like everyone's sort of mad at each other right now, but also sort of not mad. Kiki and Guerdy did some stretching. I am really enjoying Kiki. But nothing happened really within the stretching. And Kiki went to that was this week, right? Kiki went to the Museum of Ice Cream with her precious daughter, who kept saying, chocolate!
Yeah.
Chocolate!
Yeah. We got Kiki, her daughter, and her mom, maybe?
There is her mom. There's an interesting thread happening in this season of Miami before we get to like the big thing happening with fathers, basically. I fundamentally think that like Beverly Hills and Atlanta are mother-based shows. Like there are maternal issues really fueling those shows. And this is and Miami is paternal. Like there is always stuff happening
with dads.
And Lisa right now, her father has just passed. She is grieving that she lost a lot of time with him, that they had just reconnected right before he died. And she's sort of beating herself up that she didn't do it sooner. And I just think that's an individual. And Kiki is sort of taking that on and also now reconnecting with her father, who her mom is like, my father was a strong, cruel man, and your father is too. And that's just how they are. And that's a realistic thing to say. And that's sort of like a realistic family dynamic, that definitely happens. My feeling is that whether you reconnect or allow a parent back into your life who has really wronged you and not been there for you in the ways that you needed, that's up to you. I don't stand behind the sort of blanket messaging of like, your parents are your parents. I mean, and Lisa's in a time of grieving. I also don't like begrudge her that, but the way that
well, Larsa in Watch What Happens Live said that like, she believes that no matter what your parents have done or did for you, they were trying their best, and that you should like have that relationship. I don't agree with that. Now, I have a good relationship with both of my parents. Just so to be clear, I'm not talking about my parents, but like I have friends that their parents have done things where I'm just like, I don't know if you need to, like, everyone's not for you. Everyone doesn't need to be in your life, and everyone might have a time in your life, and like they had their time. But I think there are certain things that if they happen, like that's good for me to be like, I love you, like, but I can't have you in my life.
And I think that is like a fine and good and mentality to take on your own. My parents were trying their best, even if they did it. But I don't like the assignment of like everyone has to believe, everyone
Yeah,
has
but
to believe
also,
that.
also, I'm like, Lars is saying that. I'm like, yeah, maybe your parents were trying their best,
Right.
and maybe their mistakes were minor compared to something else that was easy for you to forgive. But like, there's a lot of things that like I'm not forgiven.
Right. The sort of guilting from other parties who just can't be attuned to what's going on in every individual family with Lisa says her dad was an alcoholic. Kiki's dad kicked her out when she was 15. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on here, but it's
Yeah.
also, it is fascinating though to see it in the show. And I appreciate the through line because it helps you understand a lot about
Who they
these
are.
women. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of like some of their motivations. Now, as for Julia's motivations at the surprise party for Marysol and Steve thrown by Alexia,
Yeah.
I couldn't begin to understand. Do you?
No, and it seems like a lot of people don't. And it also seems like Julia is like, "Oh, I was just going through a lot, so like you can't really like count my behavior."
Sure, I can.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "What are you talking about?"
And sure, Guerdy can. Like,
Yeah.
there's this whole narrative happening of that Guerdy is a lot and that all of the other women think she's too much. And Guerdy can be a lot.
Yeah, I
But
think both things can be true.
sure. I think Guerdy makes a really strong point that Julia was being a lot at that party. The way she like jumped up and started hugging on Steve and saying congratulations. Like she seemed like
Off.
off, like
Mhm.
off her noggin. And then when Guerdy asks, does she want to talk alone or does she want to talk together in what I thought to be a pretty simple way? I mean, she just completely escalates. And I think that like at every turn of that argument, she was the one escalating it.
Yeah. I don't wanna say she escalated it. It felt like it never like there was no she started at 10
Right. And
and
she
like
stayed at 10.
the entire time. But I don't think Guerdy started at 10. Guerdy was
No.
trying to have a conversation with her to hopefully like work through it, was my read. I don't
She
think
was
Guerdy
also
was
trying
trying
to
to.
leave at various points and
Yes.
kind of getting
Yes.
pulled back in. And I also just don't, I feel like they're both lying about something in regards to this cruise.
The cruise. So the cruise, I do think that Julia might have a point, but not to the point of her anger. Like,
Right.
at the end of the day, if Julia, which she admits, they both are on the same page about this, that Julia called her very last minute and was like, "Can you please go on this cruise with me? Martina is sick."
Sort
I
of,
agree.
but then sometimes Julia is sort of saying that Guerdy asked to come on the cruise.
Oh,
She's waffled back and forth. She has said that she asked Guerdy to come on it, but she's also like in points of anger been like, you wanted to be on this cruise. You were lucky to
well,
be on this cruise.
no,
Like,
so I think that she says, I think she did ask her to come on the cruise, but I think Julia's point was like, she wasn't doing me a favor. She wanted to come on this very luxurious cruise with all these who's of people.
but that
And
point is very undercut by the reveal that Guerdy had just been on the same cruise.
yeah, but also, it doesn't matter if she wanted to or didn't want to.
Right.
You asked her crying and she came. And also, Gertie's not wrong. If you're so worried about Martina, why are you going on the cruise?
That was a tough point to make, but a good point to make.
Yeah,
Like,
a very good point to make.
it is very hard to come back at that you are so overcome and that like Guerdy wasn't asking enough about your partner, but you've just left her.
Yeah.
You wanted to be on the cruise.
Clearly. You clearly
with
wanted to be
Captain
on
Sandy.
Yeah, you clearly wanted to be on this cruise. And that's fine, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, "Can you believe she didn't ask me one time? And Martina is so sick." And Gertie's like, "If that's the case, why the fuck did you have to go on this cruise?
There's something
I am
very
on
strange
Guerdy's side.
happening there. Yeah. Well, and then we've got to talk about, that in a moment of staying at an absolute 10, Julia throws an
Oh, a drink.
entire glass of water
Yeah.
on Guerdy, who is seated. Like, that's the thing, is there's such like a clear delineation between how both of them are acting.
Well, the aggression levels were odd from Julia because they weren't there from Guerdy.
No, she's not. She's mad and she's like explaining herself, but she's simply not coming at. That's what makes me feel like Julia is very defensive about something that we don't totally understand. It's almost like she gets a second glass of water out of it. She like double cocks it, like,
yeah,
gets 2 doses of water, and no one even stands up. No one's like, Julia, you've got to get out of here. Kiki is like, if someone threw it in her testimonial, is like, if someone threw a glass of water on me, I would not stay for the rest. I would leave. I was like, oh, you better believe I would be staying and like getting the last word on that.
I think I would have left because I think it would be best for me to leave because I think I would lose my mind.
But that's the thing, is like, that's not what Guerdy did.
No.
So I didn't like the sort of suggestion that like
Guerdy was in the wrong. Yeah.
After having a glass of water poured on her.
Like maybe Julia needed to be escorted out.
Right. And then the absolute funniest option is that they both stayed for like the toast.
Yeah. Like, okay, calm down, everyone. And she's just like, okay,
they're like
cheers.
beside each other for the toast. And Marysol was like, well, this was fucked.
Also, this happens on all Housewives shows, but like, aren't there certain things you don't want ruined? Like if I was Marysol, I would just be like, we can't film here because I can't take a chance that it will be ruined by my friends.
I was glad that they had gotten married and like done their celebration. And then this was just a surprise party. Marysol wore an eye patch too.
Oh my gosh.
My worst nightmare is that I show up to my own surprise party with a sty and an eye patch.
She like was laughing about it, like walking up the stairs.
No
she
problem.
was like, oh no, my eye patch. Ha ha ha. I was like, it's not even like, it's like a pirate eye patch.
Yeah, it was a really firm, thick eye patch.
Leather.
Rhinestone dollar sign up.
Like, what in the world? Why do you have this?
This is
how
like,
often
Miami
are you getting styes?
Like, so amazing. Like, because maybe that would happen on Atlanta. I don't know. This is just like Miami just has such a chaotic element to it. And I like the like small amount of main cast members, a lot of friend of thing right now, at least, because there are so many people. It just makes it feel like really full of energy.
Yeah, I would say Miami in general is usually high energy the whole time, which is probably why I tuned out in the beginning because it didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And generally the entire episode, you're just like, I mean, if you can see me right now, it feels like you're on a roller coaster. You just don't know what you're going to get from who. You could be smooth sailing, and then all of a sudden someone like pops out of nowhere.
Truly.
And that kind of just happened at the end, but it was just like everyone all at once at the end. And even like we talked about it last week, but like Larsa's whole Jodi picture incident, which I did love that Kiki was like, I have seen him with crazy eyes before.
It's really tough for me to have him as a character this season, personally. As a person named Jodi, I'm always like, what are they talking about? Yeah, I mean, they're pretty clearly saying he has cocaine eyes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of coke on Bravo right now.
Yeah. People are staying up late.
By the way, I do think it's always been a problem, but we've never addressed it till now.
Yeah, it is interesting, like that, over on Beverly Hills, like were people doing coke in your bathroom was the biggest possible accusation. And now we're just, and I think and like used to be disguised by, pasta on Vanderpump Rules. Like we probably should be talking about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously happening. So.
And I guess they are still disguising it here, but and his eyes
AC.
do always kind of look like that.
That's what I'm saying. I think his eyes always do like that. I don't think that negates that he might also do coke. Right. But I don't think that his eyes looking like that mean anything.
It's hard to tell when his eyes look like that all the time.
All the time. So
it's the other signs. It's him disappearing, coming back really angry and revved up. Those are probably the signs.
Talking about AC. Like, there are signs there. The eyes just aren't one of them for me.
Right. Yeah, I don't trust him. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
But I don't trust Larsa either. So I'm not like, Larsa should have a talk with Lisa about this. Like,
Larsa and Kiki were on Watch What Happens Live this week, and it seems like, and again, this is Larsa, so who knows, but it seems like Lisa might not have a good relationship with any of the girls right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, we'll be back.
Thank you, Jodi, so much for covering these two shows with me. We will be back next week with more The Valley, more Miami, and maybe Atlanta, since it's the finale this week. We shall see. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.